Thank you. So, okay, first of all, thank you for inviting me to this conference. I'm very happy to be here. I'm here to give this presentation about the role of groundwater in the World Water Quality Alliance. Yeah, so I will just start. This presentation has basically three parts. First, I'm going to talk about the World Water Quality Alliance. Then I'm going to talk about a group called the Friends of Groundwater. And then I'm going to talk about the activities of this group. The short version is the FOG, Friends of Groundwater. So let's start. The World Water Quality Alliance. As in the slide says, the WWQA, is a voluntary and flexible global multi-stakeholder network that advocates for a better role of freshwater quality in achieving prosperity and sustainability. So I can tell you now a little bit of the history of the group. So in 2017, in the United Nations Environment Assembly of UNEP, so a big meeting organized by UN Environment, they passed a resolution that looked forward to address water pollution, to protect and restore water-related ecosystems. So in order to make this happening as a concrete action, it was decided that UNEP was going to lead an effort to create a world water quality assessment. This wasn't going to be done only by UNEP, but also by other organizations that wanted to be part. So many organizations were invited to participate in this assessment, and many reacted, around 50 or more. And the first meeting of this assessment group was held in 2018 in Geneva, coordinated by UNEP and the WMO, which is the World Meteorological Organization. So all these organizations came together to work in this assessment. And well, during the discussions, some questions arise regarding to groundwater, because in this group of organizations, there were some groundwater people, some hydrogeologists that wonder, okay, but what's the role of groundwater in this assessment? Is it even possible to make a global groundwater assessment regarding to quality? So these people kind of raised attention, and then were called informally the Friends of Groundwater. So this small group inside the assessment group. And then it took another year to organize internally the group, to decide who is going to do what, how the work was going to be structured. And then in 2019, the group came together again, and then it officially changed from assessment to alliance, because the group realized that there is a lot to do regarding the world water quality, and they wanted to also continue after the assessment was done. So they decided to create this community of organizations that were going to work towards a better water quality, and one of the activities would be this assessment. So the group changed. Now we have the alliance, and the Friends of Groundwater, who was this little group, now became like an official work stream of the alliance. So a work stream means that it's a group that is going to work towards the global assessment from a different perspective, or taking care of one specific topic. So there is a Friends of Groundwater, but there is other work streams for other topics that I'm going to show you in another slide. So this is more or less the history of this group. But maybe, I don't know, some of you might wonder, why do we need a world water quality assessment? Well, as you can see in the picture in the right, we have a lot of bad things going on in our freshwater bodies. We have a lot of pollution and damage. And this is coming mainly from some factors. First, we have a rapid economic growth in many parts of the world, which means more urbanization, population growth, more industrialization, and more waste. And this waste is being just released in the environment, or is being treated, but there is not really an overview of what's going on. We only observe in several parts of the world that freshwater is being damaged, the quality is being damaged, but we don't have a picture of it. So the goal of the world water quality assessment would be to review the state of fresh water quality and the potential impacts that this has in health from ecosystems and also human, and also in food security. And this in conjunction with pressures and key drivers to overcome the global water crisis, but in a targeted way. So this is the reason why the assessment was set up. This is what I mentioned before. This is a different work streams of the WWQA. So we have one dedicated to ecosystems, for example, one dedicated to youth action, to capacity development, etc. And here we are, the Friends of Groundwater. So I think until now we are around 14, but this is not a fixed number. So more work streams I created sometimes, and also some of them are merging because they realize they work more or less in the same thing. So this is a very active group and yeah, and very alive. A lot of things are happening there. So, okay, I said the first idea was in 2017, and now we are in 2022. So some things happen in the meantime. And there are already some documents. Some work has been done towards the World Water Quality Assessment. And the three main ones are these three that are in the slide. So there is a first global display of water quality baseline. This big report, it was made by the work stream dedicated specifically to the baseline of water quality. Then we have another report called Assessing Groundwater Quality, a Global Perspective, Importance, Method, and Potential Data Sources. And this is a paper that was done by the Friends of Groundwater, so our group. And then we had a plan for the social engagement platform. I included there the link, so if you can see the slides later, you can go directly to the documents. And yeah, well, now I want to tell you a little bit more about the composition of these Friends of Groundwater. So we are 30 organizations, no, 30 members representing around 20 institutions and organizations. And we define our objective as to improve the global knowledge base on groundwater quality. We would really love to be able to say, okay, we are going to produce a global assessment of groundwater quality, but we also know that this is a very difficult task. So in the meantime, we want to improve the global knowledge and maybe build the foundations that will lead in the future to this global groundwater quality assessment. These are the organizations that are part of it. You can see there are many different types of some geological surveys, UN organizations, knowledge institutes, universities, companies. And this group is also open and growing. So yeah, it's also very much alive. Okay, so what activities we have been done? I mentioned just now this paper, perspectives paper, we call it, is a report on groundwater quality that I'm going to mention a little bit more detail after. And this paper, well, we created a shortened version of it. And this was published in the Hydrogeology Journal as part of a collection of essays dedicated to the International Year of Groundwater, which is, well, it's this year, as many of you may know, and this is marked also by the World Water Day that was dedicated to groundwater, and the World Water Development Report that was presented in the previous blog, also dedicated to groundwater. And yeah, also we organized a session in the Stockholm World Water Week dedicated to groundwater quality with a presentation and panel. So we have been active. So about the perspective paper, I wanted to still mention the key message, although I know that, well, you are all hydrogeologists, so you know groundwater very well, but I wanted to mention what we thought are important key messages that should be communicated outside the groundwater world. So what surface people should know. This is more or less the objective of the paper. So first is that an assessment of water quality and also groundwater quality is very important for the achievement of the SDGs, especially the ones dedicated to food security, health, and ecosystems. Also, that if we want to understand the global water quality, we need to take into account groundwater. We cannot leave groundwater out of it. And this happens many times when, yeah, the professionals in charge of an activity don't know about groundwater. They think, it's too difficult, maybe we just leave it out. Yeah, we shouldn't do that. We should consider it because it's very important. Another thing that we wanted to explain is that groundwater can be affected by different types of contaminants. So we have geogenic, anthropogenic, microbiological, and that they don't behave in the same way as when they are in surface water. So they move in different ways. They can be accumulated in certain areas, and then it's really difficult to remove them from there. So we covered that. We also mentioned that you see there in the 3D glasses that groundwater is indeed a 3D feature. So it moves horizontally, but also vertically. So if we want to understand the quality, we also need to consider that, the depth, and also the time, because as you also know, groundwater can move very, very slow in times that are completely different from surface water. We also wanted to talk about data and specifically the lack of data in many areas, especially in the global south or in developing countries. And also that data, sometimes it's not that the data doesn't exist, it's just that it's dispersed or it's not in order, or metadata is missing, it's difficult to combine. So there are many issues related to data, and we also covered that in the World Water Development Report. Another point that we wanted to communicate in the paper was that common assessment of rainwater quality, or traditional, let's say, can be complemented with other tools, for example, with remote sensing, with satellites, or with citizen science. So we need to remain open to new alternatives to quantify this groundwater quality. And the last point, well, there were other points, but I just mentioned the most important ones. This point is that investments are very much needed, especially in capacity development and research. So yeah, we need money basically to do this assessment of groundwater quality around the world. Okay, so that's what we did. And now, well, we also did that, but this, so last year, let's say we applied for a seed funding, and then we got it to produce a project called Groundwater Quality for the World Water Quality Assessments. And this project is going to be developed this year, already started. So this is kind of activity that happened last year, but is continuing this year. And this activity has two goals. One is to develop a global groundwater quality portal and to produce guidelines on regional groundwater quality assessment. Okay, so about these guidelines. As I mentioned before, it's very difficult to just produce an assessment of global groundwater quality. So what we want to do first is to offer a guidance on how to start assessing the groundwater quality at a national level based on existing data. So for that, we want to start collecting and review case studies, and we want to see what contaminants are more important to analyze, and mostly try to assess the validity of the upscaling methods found. So how representative they are and for what they are used. For example, in the picture, we see this portal is from Denmark, and then show the distribution of nitrate in the whole country. So for example, if let's say the Gambia, they want to also do an analysis of the nitrates, then we can say, oh, you can do, for example, what Denmark is doing, but then how valid is this for this new situation? So this is more or less the idea of this project. And then, yeah, I presented in an interesting way, so it doesn't die in a PDF somewhere, but it's a tool that people can use later. And then we have the Global Groundwater Quality Portal, which has three objectives. One is to be a focal place for global groundwater quality information and activities. Also to be a entrance or meta portal for other portals. So different groundwater quality portals can feed our portal. And then after, the third objective is to feed this groundwater knowledge, this created knowledge, into other portals that have a bigger scope that are dedicated to the environment or to water in general. So we would like to feed the World Water Quality Assessment Portal, which is being developed now, or the Globe WQ portal, or other portals. And this groundwater quality portal will have 3 parts. One is the website, which is basically information on all the topics that are related to global groundwater quality that are very important. So why we need to develop, what are the main threats, the current state per region, and activities of the Friends of Groundwater. And then we have 2 tools. One is the document database, which will gather all the information, reports, papers that deal specifically with global groundwater quality assessments, regional or national, but not local, so in a big scale. All the documents that deal with this big scale. And then we will have the MAT portal, which is what I just mentioned before, where we will gather all the sources of information related to groundwater quality. So yeah, this is what we do. These are the Friends of Groundwater in the World Water Quality Alliance. So I mentioned we are an open group, and we are always very happy to have new members. So if you have any question, if you think that your work can be used for this global groundwater quality assessment, let us know. We will be very happy to be in contact with you. So thank you.